And we want to end up this third edition of Tech Spirit with an incredible session. This is going to be fun. I hope so. The thing is called Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Entrepreneurship, but were afraid to ask. And we're going to invite to join us in the scenario, in the stage, to three pro guys who have been doing amazing things with their companies, and for young entrepreneurs who want to ask them things. So we will make a combination, probably a bit disordered, on questions and answers, recommendations, and it's going to be 30 minutes. After that, big party. A beer, a DJ, after party, after work, and everything we want. So, well, we're too many people now. 8 people in the stage. I would like to first invite to join the stage to the pro guys. So let's just give a big applause to Eva Martin, founder of Tiendeo, Toni Rami, founder of Kantox, and Federico Travella, founder of Novicap. Come on, the pro guys. So the pro guys, maybe you can come over here. Thank you, you three over here. And now let's call the rookies. We've got them around already. So let's welcome into the stage to Sergi Borja, founder of Honei, Julia Escribà, founder of what? I don't have it here. Well, you'll explain it. Carlos Brunet, founder of Plaved, and the winner of this year's, the 2022 Startup Pitch Competition, Zoltan Toth-Czifra, from the Real Deal Milk. So welcome to the stage, and applause for them. Julia, sorry for that. Julia, first of all, founder of?
Julia Escribà.
Okay.
The fashion firm, yeah.
Great. That's what I thought, but okay. So, here you've got them. There is no order here, except for they already demonstrated things, they already proved they know how to make it, and you can ask them things. So, some of them already shared some questions. I know you guys are quite interested in knowing things. We've got 30 minutes, because after this, these people want to have a beer, a cold beer, as you want. They've been talking with some of the top guys in the organization to have some beer. I don't know if this is going to happen, but Julia, you can start. So go ahead with the question. I don't know if you want to address it to one of them or to all of them, or the same I come over here, when they just bring a question, you can answer it all or one. We don't have to go like robots, okay, you, and then we go again. So just feel free to make it happen. Julia, whatever you want.
Yeah, I have a question for everyone.
All of them? Oops.
How many values and goals you had since the beginning, and if they changed through all this process till you are now?
Okay, who wants to go with this one?
Ladies first.
Eva, come on.
Yeah. Well, our goal, I think, was the same from the beginning. I mean, it was growing up and making the company a huge success. And that was our main goal. And I think values were the same. We really didn't make a change of our company. And we always made the same product from the beginning of the 11 years and really had no changes in value, proposition. So it was pretty standard.
I think there's going to say, yeah, there's something else. Go ahead.
I was going to say that for me, the values comes a lot with the people, right? I think the company tends to look a lot like the people who started. You tend to hire similar people to you that think along, that understand your philosophy. So in the end, you come with the values, in my opinion. No? If we talk about values printed on the wall, then that's a different story. But I think you as a person and with the example is who set the values of the company and how it evolves. And then in terms of goals, you want to eat the world, you want to change the world, you want to do everything better, like you will do for sure.
Okay.
I'll second that. Actually, like, I think you can be very pragmatic and have changing goals, but you won't compromise on the values. That is how I typically look at it.
Okay. Sergi, go ahead with one.
Yeah, I have a question. What does success mean to you? I think with more the youngers, we're always like, when I get to this point, I will finally be able to do whatever, or I will finally be happy. And the goals keep getting bigger and bigger, and it feels like it's never enough, and you never get to the success that you expect.
I hope they feel they succeeded already.
Yeah, that's
Part of the question.
I think what you're saying is pretty much like video games, right? You have certain levels. The monsters gets bigger when you go to the next level, and so that's, I think, as entrepreneurs, the challenges and what you very much encounter just changes, and the problems become different over time. I think for myself, I think it makes sense to focus on the journey, on the process. Because eventually, if you focus on that rather than just a specific goal, you realize what really matters. I think it just too limiting if you just have one specific goal in mind.
I really like a phrase the other day that said, I heard, is happiness doesn't exist, but you can be happy every day. And it, of course, these romantic, Mr. Wonderful morning cups that sounds like this, doesn't mean it's not true. And it, of course, is always accompanied by the fact that you want to support your family, you want to get them to the beach in the summer and to ski. And so there is a minimum financial wealth that you need to deliver, right? And it's part of the journey, it's not ignorable, right? But I think looking back, what you're most proud of and what keeps you going is really this fact that you're having fun.
I'm not sure if this is a difference in between your generations, but I was able to read both questions from Julia and Sergi, and in both cases I found there were some emotional, philosophical, anthropological things, like also related to life, personal life and work, and that connects me a bit to that. Do you think there is a difference on that? I mean, were you like very much focused on work, and this generation is more focused on making a good balance of it?
I think personally that I don't know which generation we're at right now, because I think it was Gen Z, and
It looks
I don't know
like-
what happened afterwards because we're at Z.
It looks like we're not on the same one.
I don't know if we're going to start at A again, but I do think that if we can talk about the next generation, is looking for something that is more than just a job. They have a lot of intrinsic drivers, which matter a lot to them, and I think that's something also as an employer, eventually someone building a company, is something you want to offer to people. I do think that is slightly affected, if I can put it that way, by the recent 2 years, excess liquidity on the market, everyone being very self-entitled on the employee side, and that is changing again a little bit now. So people are really saying, okay, no, I want to balance my work, professional life. There's a lot of elements there which I think were related to the bonanza of liquidity and venture capital we've seen in the last 2 years, and that is changing now again. So I think that goes a little bit hand in hand. But yes, generally speaking, the intrinsic drivers for the next generation are definitely important.
I don't know if Eva wants to
I don't know
say
if Eva
something,
was
but-
meant to.
For me, I feel as from the generation, because for me, success is also having fun and being able to have a very important private life. So,
My view, I don't know if I disagree, but it's like, I think it's not that the generation is different, but the sector is a lot harder, right? When I was studying, everyone wanted to go to M&A in investment banking, right? And when we have the people, now we have incredibly talented people. They are much smarter, I've been talking to them before, much smarter than what I think, I don't know about you, but at least me, for sure, than we were with the startup. I think we didn't do bad in the last 12 years, but I think I had less competition in terms of, bravo, in terms of,
You know why he's laughing? I think he was a promoter of this.
He's very
There's
thirsty.
some kind of campaign around. I could see that was, promoted by someone.
you jumped at it, people, come
Thank
on.
you very much. Okay, yeah, I will accept it.
But commenting.
No, Federico is the only one who's going to
I-
talk. He wants water. So for the next 30 minutes, it's going to be Federico.
I'll stick to water, but I do think what Toni is commenting is true. However, I think it's very market-driven. So what you've seen with the influx of talent into technology was driven eventually because that sector was doing really well. And now the tech sector, let's say venture capital backed industry is again impacted by this more recessionary
Let's not forget there is
strength.
a lot more money now in tech companies at the early stages than what it was.
Okay, let me see what they want to ask. Carlos, you're going to drink. Wait a sec before you drink. Bring your question first.
Well, I think that as we've talked about success, about goals and addressing that stuff, I think that in our stage it's also important to address failure and think about what failure means to you. And also, in my opinion, what it's very important is to take value from failure and know how in your trajectory, in your career, you have been able to take value from the failure.
So learnings from mistakes, let's say. Anything that you would just bring to your mind that...
I mean,
Yes,
we
of course.
fucked up so much, so many times. I mean, for me, the biggest one is when, if we are referring to the early stages, especially, we were so wrong. We started into so many wrong theses, and I mean, in the end, is you need to be stubborn, you need to have resilience, you need to go, but you need to listen at the same time, right? And it's just by this adapting, by changing little things here and there, that got us through. But it's really not make mistakes, but I mean, there are definitely, is a classic, it's a cliche, but it's definitely the biggest source of learning.
I mean, it's a long path, and it's like ups and downs, but you learn a lot from these downs. The point is like to learn from them and to continue improving and changing things till you find a solution. So it's a path of failures, actually, many times.
I would say in addition to that, I think the most important thing is to avoid the mistakes that other people have made. So if you surround yourself with great mentors, advisors, investors, I think you can save a bit of time, and eventually time, that's what really matters in startups. You're on a clock. Mm-hmm. The time is of essence here because a startup is defined by growth rate. And I think if you can avoid some of these mistakes, especially early on, by surrounding yourself with the best people, whether those are people internally that you hire or people externally, you save time, and I think that's of essence in startups.
I cannot bring any failure in that sense because I was not brave enough to run a company like you guys did. But from what I learned on these couple of days from guys who were here, and I thought were very interesting thoughts, David Martin was saying yesterday, focus on everything you do and don't waste time on anything that doesn't bring value. And he also brought the other one that I thought interesting. 5% is the idea, 95% is the execution. So you can have an amazing idea, but if you don't do it properly, it's not going to work. And the other two I heard, I think it was today. No, one was yesterday from Local Heroes, Factorial, when the same question was brought up, and he said, making a big mistake with the team, not choosing the right people, connecting values, being really aligned, or keeping them too long. He said, and today in the venture. I think it was in the morning in the first sessions, one of the VCs was saying, very precise on how do you get the money on the seed or pre-seed moments in where basically you're going to tell to the next investors who are you connecting with. And I thought, I don't know if you guys think any of those are worth, but I felt like they looked like very interesting.
Yes.
My favorite was from the ones you said, was the people in every stage of the journey. There is people that are amazing for a part of the journey. That doesn't mean they are good for the whole journey. And that generates a lot of tension.
That's a good one.
And definitely, I can relate a lot to this, right? And it's very painful. It's people that many times in the beginning, that they are super useful for a phase, they bring the company up, and then suddenly you see it's not working anymore, and it's very painful. And
at some time when you change from startup to scale up, you need really to start delegating, and then you need a senior team, is what you said also, like you need really people that are senior and know what they are doing. And this change is difficult to do, and to hire these people is crucial, as you said, no? Like having these good people is what makes your startup become a scale up so that you can really delegate and make it grow.
I would even put it more extremely that most high-growth companies, if you think they're a few years in, the team at that point will be completely different from when they start, including co-founders. So from that perspective, in my case, I'm the only one still in the company after 7 years. And the whole team has changed over that period.
Not bad. Zoltan.
Sorry, can I add something about failure, just real quick? So I think in the last few years, two of the biggest financial scandals were Theranos with Elizabeth Holmes, and then recently FTX with Mr. Bankman-Fried. And I think they didn't start out as fraud, but at some point they became too afraid to fail, and then they did things because of that were not ethical. So it spiraled out of control because they were just too afraid to admit that something is not working, there's not enough money, like there's something went wrong, and they were not brave enough to face that failure. And I think there's a lot of you working at startups or having startups, and a few really bad years are coming. So I think it's important to remember that some of you will fail and go out of business. And when you do that, you should keep your ethics in check and honesty in check, I think.
Yeah, because, Theranos, Elizabeth Holmes will never raise money again. I mean, she's actually going to jail. So I think, thinking long-term, I think always pays off. And then the return on investment of trust and ethics and values is, I would say, the highest in business.
Zoltan, I was going to say you were nominated today as the best startup for the year with the Catalan Pitch competition. Congrats. You look better before when I saw you with that costume than now. No, you look great now. Any question you would like to address to them? There was some when discussing also with Mar, I think she brought up something that I thought it was interesting, which is very connected to the previous one. I don't know, Zoltan, just go ahead with whatever you want, but I thought it was interesting, the one on how to grow personally as a CEO and how to be able to manage the way your company grows at the same time. And I thought that was quite interesting too.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And also let me add one more question just for me, which would be, I think to all of you. I think building a startup is stressful and tough, and it's challenging to your mental health. So what steps do you take to keep sane, not to go crazy, with stress, with the responsibility?
For me, it's clearly been my co-founder, and how different, for the ones that know Philippe, we both are. I've always tried to not be down in the bad moments. Not that he is, but I really try to keep my mood as stable as possible. This generates that I also don't celebrate victories by default. And for example, in my mind, I think I've built more the product and he's built more the company, right? And this has been a very interesting dynamic in that sense, because he's given me the stability of not having to worry about if we would pay salaries or not. And I've been worrying about making sure that money's coming in, right? And it's been a really good balance. And when we talk about evolution, is yes, growing yourself, understand that the company changes and understand everything that changes around you, but you need to change as well. And your relationship needs to change as well. And that trust with the other person, like no matter what, things are getting bigger, there are more things to be aware, there are more things to divide. You cannot be talking about every single small thing. So that partnership has been absolutely crucial, not at the start, but also how it's evolved.
Anyone? Which questions would you like to address to them? Now you can just go ahead without order.
I have another deep question.
Yeah?
Like in order to ask like mental health questions too. Like when you start, you had a need of control, and how that like developed during all your journey, and then how you were able to disconnect like from your personal life and your professional life, and that changed on how many hours you can disconnect like daily now, or being honest?
I mean, as for myself, and it's a personal choice, I think the whole work-life balance is not something I aim for. I think it's just unrealistic. It could work for certain type of businesses, but if you're, again, as an entrepreneur, you make the decision, you sign the check. if you decide to raise venture capital, you decide to go big, because that's eventually what you do if you take external capital. You have, first of all, a fiduciary duty to make a return on that money, and as such, you're part of a competitive marketplace. And from that perspective, you need to realize that if you're not building it, someone else will build it, and you will have to assume competition. So I would say it's a lot more interconnected in my case. And also going back to the previous question, at the end of the day, everything is relative. It's just business, even if everything fails. And so I'd be more focused on all the risks or the problems that you can address, rather than there's so many problems in the organization that you cannot address, and focus on a few really key problems and gain comfort that you're covering that. But in terms of hours and all of that, I think that's not something you would count because you're becoming an entrepreneur. I think, and that's something which I kept providing as advice to many aspiring entrepreneurs is, if you're starting a company, you're doing it for the next 10 years. There's no such thing as quick exits. And you've recently exited your business, Kantox, and it took more than 10 years.
It's going to be 15 in the end, huh?
Exactly, so it's going to be 15 once the bank lets you go. But so all I'm saying is that you have to know very well what you're getting into, and if you're not open to go into your business or in that journey for 10 years, just don't do it.
My personal trick, it's been the weekends.
It's been
the weekends.
Okay.
That's always been my escape.
So during the week? Because
during the weekend, I was able to disconnect, especially cooking and going to Barca games. That's, it's what saved me and what's allowed me to be connected, not 24, but easily 18 hours a day during 12 years.
Not bad. Julia, you ready for that?
Like, I'm used to, but...
Barca games?
Like, for example, on the weekends, like, it's difficult to not, like, bring problems to your head about the company and disconnect at the same time. Like, it's the same, or you learn on how to don't do that?
For me, it's difficult to disconnect. I mean, I try, of course, and the weekends I never work, but as also one of my co-founders is my twin sisters, so we always, when we meet, we just speak about the company. Also in the company there are some of my friends, so it's hard to disconnect.
Okay, Carla, Sergi, I don't know, any of you, any question which is a bit more, let's say, about the company, maybe? Or, well, whatever you want. Go ahead.
I have another one that is, how do you differentiate the success or failure of your startup to your personal life? Like, I think that the self-esteem is affected on how the startup is working. Like, if it's going good, I have a good self-esteem, and if it's going bad, I think you go all at once, and it's that intense that it can affect, and it's pretty dangerous, I think. I don't know how you differentiate that success from...
Fede was mentioning the goals, how is it called, the results, and then what you need to do to get the results, right? What really depends on you. For me, it's always been about being proud of the work that I do, right? Maybe the client doesn't contract with us, but are we offering the best? Am I doing the best so he can realize, right? If you do this systematically, it doesn't mean that they will always buy from you, but this gives an enormous peace of mind. It's like, look, this is good for them. They're just not seeing it yet, right? And it's coping with that. For me, it's really been, again, always being proud and saying, this is needed for the world. And as long as I have that feeling, that keeps me going.
I mean, you're right. Failure is really tough, right? There's a lot of pressure on you as an entrepreneur. You see those unicorns. You see people doing much better than yourself. So I think generally, yeah, an entrepreneur is under a lot of pressure. But once again, I think I would do two things. One is really face reality, be brutally honest with you, right? If something is not working, if you're not finding that product market fit, and so on, you have to be brutally honest with yourself and not lie against yourself. And then secondly is, again, if you're focused on you're going to build another company, if this one fails. And so you're going to have so many learnings from that first journey that you can apply to the next one and hopefully become more successful, that I would get a lot of energy out of that. So I will never forget about that.
For me, it's like if you bring value, and it's what you said, no? If you feel that you are bringing value to the industry, to your clients, I mean, you can be calm and you keep working.
Go ahead.
Well, I think that as we have talked about success and failure, I am also interested in knowing about execution topics. And one key for us at this moment is knowing how, with your background, have you been able, or what are the keys to prepare a company to receive money from the kind it is? It's like, I don't mean a specific type of money, but to prepare your company for investment.
So you're saying investor readiness, no? I think the first thing I will look at, do you actually need to raise money? Does it make sense for this company to raise money? Because the reality is, again, most companies should not raise venture capital, should not raise money that is looking for 10x returns. And so you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you raise money from the wrong investors, because they will have expectations which are very different and you simply cannot comply with. So that will be the first thing I would question if I were the team, if I were to be entrepreneurs. And then the second question I would ask myself is, how are we going to put that money to work? Because people, again, if you're going to raise venture capital, if you're going to raise something that needs to scale up really rapidly, we'll be looking at the return on investment. How effectively can you put that money at work? And there again, some businesses are simply not ready to receive the money because they cannot simply put it at work in an effective way. And then next, obviously, you would look at the team, whether it's complementary, whether it's well-oiled, whether you have some traction, depending on the stage you're raising money for.
Okay.
Any answer from you? 5 minutes left.
Philippe, that's usually my partner who's doing the fundraising, but I always like how she explains it. And he says, look, fundraising is, I'm sure Pipo is a much better poker player than what I am. But he says, look, it's like a poker game. They pay to see until the next card comes in, right? So I think looking at it from the outside is saying you're in a lot more control and you can put a lot more pressure than what you think, right? In the sense that there is a lot of people competing for good investment opportunities. And that you need to know. You have an asset there, right? And you need to, not the poker in the sense that you're bluffing in your company, but you have games to say, look, this is closing now. These are the timings. Are you in or not? Telling them, oh, we are looking and I need to consult with my astrologist and I need to consult with that and I'll give you an answer after Christmas. No. You are the one in control of the timings. You are the one that needs to put the pressure on the timings. And I've seen that when we learned that, games was different. That when a company grows and is profitable and everything, that helps.
Zoltan, go ahead.
Just add something real quick. I have the perfect recipe for raising money.
You have the perfect recipe for raising money.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Wait, stop it all.
Create a kick-ass pitch deck, practice your pitch very well, then go on Amazon.com, order a cow's food, and then win the competition for the best startup in Catalonia, and the investors will come to you. Just joking. I think, but I actually did want to make a point. So I think that confidence is very important. It sounds like a cliche, but what VCs want to see in you is confidence. And maybe it works on a subconscious level, or maybe it's something intentional. But if you radiate confidence, yes, it's me. Yes, I'm going to be the one changing this industry. I'm going to want disrupting it, and you gotta believe me because I just look like the role. That's how you convince people to give you their money.
So I only follow that comment partly, and I'll tell you why. Eventually, what really matters is the substance. So this is what obviously, again, is market-driven. In the last few years, we've seen a lot of VC investment. Many entrepreneurs were raising money very rapidly, right? There's a lot of liquidity in the market. Money was easily available. And so that's when competence very much got blurred with confidence. But what really matters at the end of the day is competence. Trust me. You can be the most confident person. If you're not competent, the business is not going to work. And I give you the extreme example. I went to London last week, right? And if I were to have the choice between two pilots, a very, very confident, good-looking pilot, but doesn't have a pilot license, and a very competent pilot, looks a little boring, a bit timid, introvert, but knows really well how to fly that plane, I'm going to go for the competent pilot.
Toni.
You're giving investment to the VCs, which I completely agree with you, but he asked about raising money.
Yes.
So the advice to raise money.
Yeah, but so the point here is that the best investors will look eventually for competence and substance. That doesn't mean you cannot be confident.
That's what makes them the best.
But at the same time, you need to complement that with
Guys, we've got 1 minute, 20 seconds left. I would ask to the pro guys to give you a 20-second recommendation. One, which is the most important thing you would recommend them? Eva.
It's a long journey. We said 10 years, 11 years in my case. So have fun, learn a lot, and, well, success will come.
Oh, yeah, this is way too short. But be long-term focused. Have a clear reason to exist as a company. Know in which space you can become successful, and keep that North Star in mind.
A good one. Toni?
Make it matter to you.
What is it?
Make it matter to you.
Okay. Make it
care
matter
about
to
it.
you. Okay, so thank you very much to Eva Martin, founder of Tiendeo, Toni Rami, founder of Kantox, Federico Travella, founder of Novicap, Sergi, Borja, Julia Escribà, Carlos Brunet, and Zoltan, Toth-Czifra. Thank you very much for being here. A big applause for all of them. Thank you.
Thank you.